San Marcos, Texas. A town shaped by the river, by generations of students, soldiers, settlers, and spirits. Its streets are filled with stories. Stories of love and loss, of war and tragedy, of things that refuse to be forgotten. To some, they're ghost stories. To others,
they're warnings.
From haunted bridges to cursed cemeteries, from university halls to colonial-era executions, the past in San Marcos never sleeps. Today, we explore 6 locations where the line between the living and the dead seem to blur. These are the haunted legends of San Marcos.
I'm Sarah Smith. I'm the marketing specialist for Destination Services, so I promote all the fun things there are to do, see, and experience in San Marcos from a visitor perspective. And I also write a lot of the blog content and website content for visitsanmarcos.com. I think anytime that you get a collection of people together, you're going to have some unique stories and perspectives that are being told. I do believe, and I'm not entirely sure what level I believe, I think that there are things that are unexplained, for sure. I think the most important part of this is understanding the importance of the stories themselves and our connection to this kind of storytelling, and whether it's to teach a lesson or to share some of our local history. It's multifaceted, and I think it's really important to us as a community to keep some of these stories still going.
Our first stop takes us to Old Main, a building on the campus of Texas State University. Perched high above campus, Old Main was the first building constructed at Texas State University, opening in 1903. But some believe it's also a home to one of the school's oldest and most enduring ghosts, a young woman said to have died after leaping from the 3rd-story balcony. The story goes that her boyfriend died overseas during a war, and consumed by grief, she took her own life. Others suggest she was pushed, a darker ending to a forgotten chapter.
There was a lot of people that were like, hey, can you wait with me until, we can walk home together, kind of a thing. Very kind of spooky atmosphere, especially once it's quiet. These places, being such a hub of energy, have such a different feeling to them whenever everybody's gone home, and it makes it eerie even if it's not.
Now, students and faculty report flickering lights, sudden cold spots, and a woman in white seen rushing through the halls, clutching books. Always late, always looking.
So it's a very unique ecosystem for these kinds of stories to flourish. And I also think with how old the university is and how much it's grown over the years, that blend of history and modern building and architecture is kind of a unique place where some of these stories can be facilitated. It's a really good backdrop for a good spooky story, for sure.
The 3rd floor, they say, is never truly empty. Next, we have the Gary Job Corps, located in eastern San Marcos. The Gary Job Corps Training Center occupies land that's seen many lives, and possibly still holds some. Once used for military purposes and medical care, the site is known for its strange activity.
Are you gonna do it again? Jesus Christ. I can hear you.
That area is really interesting because it used to be military. And I think that it being a World War II military base definitely has a setting for some quality spooky stories. Being barracks and then going into dormitories and stuff like that, it's got a lot of people that have lived in there for a long time. And I think that just really sets the scene.
Lockers opening on their own, objects disappearing, and lights turning on and off with no explanation. But the most chilling reports involve phantom nurses, invisible presences that whisper in your ear. Their scent marks by peppermint. Many believe the paranormal energy is tied to the land's layered history, a place where war, illness, and transition left emotional marks.
It's kind of a lady in white situation, where she's a blanket space for some kind of a spirit. And so I think that's how that manifested here in San Marcos.
To this day, new students arrive with no idea of the stories they've stepped into. until the halls remind them. Our next stop takes us to the former Pike House, located near campus. Once towering on Fredericksburg Street, the Pike House had lived many lives. A boys' dormitory, a hospital, a military academy, a Baptist academy, and finally, a fraternity house. But it was during its time as a fraternity house that tragedy struck. According to legend, a pledge died during a hazing ritual. In a strange and secretive act, the other pledges were told to write down every detail of what happened. Those books were burned, then nailed to the walls of the room where the death occurred. Visitors claim to find those burned journals still nailed up, along with bloodstains, caution tape, and the overwhelming sense of being watched.
I think that it's such a multi-layered story that it's one of those that the more I dug, the more I was like, this is really quite a unique, adventure here. And it's something that you didn't really have to fill in the blanks for the paranormal stuff, even if it wasn't quote unquote haunted.
Recording it. Video tape. The old Pike House, haunted Pike House burning down.
In 2007, the house mysteriously burned down. Arson. A crowd gathered to watch it go up in flames.
It's so easy for some of these abandoned buildings to go up in flames, especially older buildings, maybe buildings where things that aren't necessarily, acceptable, particularly in an abandoned building, to be happening. It's a tinderbox waiting to go up.
The building has since been rebuilt and transferred to new owners, but the legend and its horror still echo. For the next legend, we go to Thompson Island on the San Marcos River. Stretching over the San Marcos River, Thompson Island Bridge carries more than just people. Legend says it's a Confederate soldier killed during the Civil War, made a promise to his brother that he'd return home from battle, and even in death, he's kept that promise. His spirit is said to patrol the bridge, appearing most often when the nation is at war.
I've heard that water does tend to be, just a hot spot. And particularly the San Marcos River, I think, is unique. Of course, all rivers are, historically significant pretty much, but the headwaters of the San Marcos River are considered the longest continuously inhabited site of North America. So there's a lot of history here. There's a lot of activity throughout, so many generations. And I think that draws spirits, stories, whatever you want to call it necessarily, to those areas.
One man, visiting the island with plans to build a restaurant, experienced sudden cold spots, low growls in the air, and a chilling sense of being watched. As he turned to leave, he saw something, human-shaped, crouched in the bushes. That night, he dreamed he was back on the bridge. Only the river beneath had turned to fire. He never returned, and the restaurant was never built. Our next stop is San Pedro Cemetery, located in southern San Marcos. South of town lies San Pedro Cemetery, but locals call it Crybaby Cemetery. Over the years, it's become infamous for eerie nighttime encounters.
It's not hot, it's nice, we have a nice breeze, so that sounds like a baby, right?
Yeah, kind of.
Visitors report hearing babies crying in the dark, often near damaged or missing headstones. Some say cars stall without warning, only to restart after a few minutes of silence, as if something unseen
is deciding when you're allowed to leave.
The stories at Crybaby Cemetery they're so sad, and nobody really wants to think about that as a reality, but in some way it also, it recognizes that grief continues on, and that, it never really goes away. So for it to be kind of a physical manifestation of somebody's internal grief and passed on, to other people, I think that's really powerful.
While the cemetery holds real graves, many vandalized or forgotten. No one knows for sure why the cries come. Theories range from buried children to restless spirits mourning lost lives. But one thing's certain, the sorrow there feels real. For our final stop, we go to the headwaters of the San Marcos River, next to Sewell Park. Long before San Marcos was a city, two women lived alone by the river, Genevieve and Isabel Gary, a mother and daughter. From 1682 to 1691, they survived on the island, but were eventually accused of witchcraft, heresy, and consorting with the devil. Without a fair trial, they were executed by fire and hanging. Their screams said to echo along with the riverbanks ever since.
I think it's such an interesting area to look at from a ghost story perspective because it does have such a rich history, but it's also so close to everything, you know? So it would be kind of crazy to see some kind of paranormal activity at the headwaters of the river there whenever, you know, Ocarina Springs is just right there at the road. So like there's always, you know, somebody kind of nearby.
Some say their cabin once stood near the headwaters of the San Marcos River. Others believe their remains are buried near what's now Eddie Durman Park. Many who walk these areas late at night report hearing wailing in the wind and seeing ghostly women wandering the trees. Innocent or not, the Gary witches have never truly rested. San Marcos is a place of beauty. Its water's clear, its land rich, its community alive. But its past has teeth, and some stories refuse to be silenced. From ghosts of grief, to spirits of injustice, to curses that cling to the land, San Marcos remembers what others try to forget, and sometimes it whispers back.